the ultimate purpose of life is to connect with the intermediary space that you are a part of. That intermediary space itself is truth. You don't have to go somewhere in this space to know what life is. You just have to become this intermediary space. Bardo is not about discarding one body, passing through this intermediary realm, and then picking a new body. That is still life. You don't have to do anything for that. You don't need special training. You don't need teachers. You simply live like the way you're living. The same process will continue. You will die. Something passes along, starts attaching itself to something. Eventually, that becomes its new life. That's how the cycle of life and death continues. You have to do something to stop this cycle. These teachings are meant for you to end that transition, to stop moving from one body to another. The only way you can do it is by becoming the very space. As long as you are something, you cannot escape birth and death. Birth and death is simply another way of referring to impermanence, referring to change. It is always restricted to something. If you are everything or nothing, there is no concept of birth and death. What is the meaning of birth and death if you're nothing? What is the meaning of birth and death if you're everything? And these are the only two schools of thought that lead to enlightenment. Either you keep on searching for everything and become everything, or you keep on searching for nothing and become nothing. Either ways, the space that you will eventually find and become is exactly the same. Buddha called it nothingness. The ancient Hindu sages called it everything, the vast mind. It's just a way of describing it. Buddha called it nothingness because as far as the individual is concerned, it is a realm of nothingness. There is no thought, there is no body, there is no disease, there is no suffering. He was so precise in his definition of that ultimate state as a relationship to his human journey, he had to call it nothing. Because he knew whatever name he gives to that reality, he would be lying. How can you talk about something that has nothing to do with human, has nothing to do with form? How can you use human language to describe that thing? He said, I'm going to describe it the best way I can using the human language, which is nothingness. Because human experience is always about something. We are something. There is a body with a definite boundary. That's life. If I start seeing myself as you, life will be utterly confusing. There is an unspoken acceptance that I begin and end with my body. Hence, I can navigate through life without constantly worrying about who I am. But when this boundary dissolves, when a thing is taken away, when you're thrown into a zone of nothingness, or rather nothingness, you are experiencing the intermediary space, Bardo. A space that is perfectly still and perfectly moving. A space that is beyond human description. A space that is right here, right now. In fact, this very moment, you are mostly that space. In that space, you are occupied with a few thoughts. The only problem is, these few thoughts create a lot of noise. The empty space is silent, is quiet. Hence, you don't watch it. You don't observe it. You don't bring it to your consciousness. It does not call for your attention. It's like walking into a room and you see a mouse. There's nothing there in that room. You just see a mouse. What is the first thought that comes to your mind? Oh my God, this house is infested with mice. You've seen only one mouse. The house has many different things. There is empty space. There are walls. There is a roof. There is a house. There's just a tiny mouse there. Deal with it. But that's not how the mind works. For the mind, what it is occupied with, what it fears the most, is what fills its consciousness. That's what the mind is. The moment you see that mouse, the house disappears. Imagine you're wanting to buy a house and you walk into this beautiful, wonderful house and you see a mouse there. It completely changes your perception of that house. You will not even care for that house. You will say, I don't want this house. Well, we don't know where that mouse came from. It's just, no, it doesn't matter. I don't want to live in this house. For the mind, what it is obsessed with is its reality. It does not care about reality. This is the only problem in enlightenment. Even at this very moment, you are mostly bardo. You are mostly that intermediary space. You are almost entirely a pure consciousness, pure aliveness. But every time you think about you always think about you as a form. That is the mind. A mind that has simply become obsessed with itself. It is so obsessed with form. It is so obsessed with doing that it takes the very realm, the very space which is alive, which is glowing, and turns it into a thing. It looks at you as something alive and everything around you as dead. Only those things that look like you, that move like you, that talk like you will appear alive. That is how for us, other human beings, first we are the most alive. Next are other human beings. Next, other animals. Again, this gradation is exactly in terms of how much they resemble us. A chimpanzee would look more alive than an ant. But there is no difference in their aliveness. An ant would look more alive than a plant. But there is no difference in their aliveness. It's all our way of looking at things. It's all mind's way of looking at things. So the mind creates its own stories. You are alive. That means that is alive. Now this is not alive. The stone cannot be alive because it is the farthest from you. It does not move, it does not think, it does not take birth, it does not die. It cannot be alive. That's the mind. Mind has confused the body with aliveness. Because it is obsessed with the body, the feeling of aliveness for the mind is the feeling of being in the body. This is why, beyond all words, beyond all explanations, if you are able to simply go in and explore life actually, moment to moment, you'll be totally surprised how flimsy, how fleeting the mind is, and yet how much control it has had over your life. Enlightenment is always a surprise. It's, it's always an experience that makes you look stupid. I've been searching for myself. I've always been this. It's just like I've been living in a house with 100 rooms, but I've never come out of the bathroom. I was so obsessed with the walls of the bathroom, with the floor of the bathroom. I've spent my whole life arranging, rearranging, decorating that bathroom. All I had to do is just open the door and come out. I would have experienced the entire house. I would have had so much space to move around. I would have had so much freedom. It's your very house. Nobody has to introduce you to that space. Nobody has to give it to you as a gift. Enlightenment is your own nature. You just need a little bit of practice, a little bit of tricking of the mind to learn how to watch nothing. As of now, all your watching has become addicted to watching something. Because you always watch something, that something that is not something, that is everything, completely misses your consciousness. It's just like there's a big room and you only see that rat. Because it is something. You never see empty space. And yet, without empty space, how can there be any form? Without nothing, how can there be something? Just a little bit of understanding and exploring this experientially, not holding on to any theoretical concept of life. Everything we know about our bodies is theoretical. It comes from outside. It's all accumulated knowledge. From concepts of energy to concepts of physicality to chemical explanation of the body, biological explanation of the body, it's all theories, concepts, ideas. When you actually go in and start experiencing the body for what it truly is, you will see it is just a shadow. It comes and goes. It is not a permanent fixed thing. You are something else altogether. There is no need to unnecessarily complicate such a simple understanding of life. There is you and what you are occupied with. There is the cup and the contents of the cup. Throughout your life, every moment, you have conditioned yourself to watch the cup, to watch the contents of the cup. When I pour coffee into it, you are coffee. When I pour tea into it, you are tea. When I pour wine into it, you are wine. When there is anger, you are anger. When there is happiness, you are happiness. There is no you. You are simply what you're watching. You simply have to turn your attention away from the contents of the cup to the cup itself. You just have to say, irrespective of what I am filled with this moment, I am not that. I am not coffee, I am not tea, I am not wine. I am the emptiness that is allowing all these things to enter and leave. When I am angry, I am not the anger. I am the space that is allowing anger to happen. When there is a desire, I am not that desire. I am the space allowing this desire to come and go. This takes a little bit of practice. Eventually, you will be able to easily allow things to come and go like this. This is learning the art of detachment. You cannot be detached. Attachment is your very nature, but you can choose what to be attached to. Instead of being attached to the contents of the cup, be attached to the cup itself. Be attached to the emptiness. Be attached to the openness. Be attached to aliveness. Be attached to the present moment. That is still attachment. But that is an attachment that liberates you, because that's your permanent space. There, attachment is not a problem. It is not attachment that is the problem, it's what we are attached to. If we are attached to something that is continuously changing, moving, and disappearing, then naturally we are in trouble. On the contrary, if you are attached to something that is your own nature, you can be attached to silence. You can even be addicted to silence. There is no problem in it at all, because silence is your very nature. It's a part of your permanence. Silence does not come and go. It is always there. Something that is always there, when you become attached to it, there is no frustration. The problem is we always get attached to things that are impermanent, that come and go. Hence, when it goes, it takes a part of us with it. Hence suffering, hence pain. Attachment is our very nature. Life is extraordinarily personal. We cannot drop all this and simply float away into some mystical land. This moment is our only reality. But there is something else that is occupying this moment. Some conversation, some disturbance, some movement. And you're constantly watching that. Start from there and slowly withdraw your attention from watching something to watching nothing. The day you're able to watch nothing, you're enlightened.